Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very happy to host you here today. So we look forward to having an exciting session. So as we wait for our participant to join in, we will like to get to know what expectations do you have today. Please type in all your questions and any clarifications that you'd like us to have with you. So we've prepared for you a competent subject matter expert, and we'll be discussing about tax amnesty. So I know most of you are probably aware of the tax amnesty that we've rolled out, which will be running for the next 10 months and will be ending on 30th of June of 2024. But today what we've prepared for you will be taking you through how to do it step by step through our iTax platform. So we'll be having our expert from the iTax project team just to be able to show you how you'll be able to navigate the system and be able to type and access and take advantage of the tax amnesty at the comfort of wherever you are. So our subject matter expert for today is Mr. Benson. Mr. Benson, if you can hear me loud and clear, kindly just unmute and say hi to our participants.
Hi. Hope you can hear me. I'm good now. So when you're ready, we can begin.
So now the bank becomes the claimant.
Thank you so much, Benson. So we are ready for you today. If you are ready, I'll hand over the floor to you. I'll kindly proceed with the session for today. Thank you, Benson.
Thank you, my sister. And I think we can begin the session for today. And I think you've already done the introduction bit of it. It's all about tax amnesty that came with the Finance Act 2023. My name is Benson Kakunu. I'm positions at the Domestic Taxes Department. I deal mostly with system changes, work closely with the ICT team, and so on and so forth. So that is a brief about me, and therefore we can go to the highlights of the presentation today. I know many of you have already read about the tax amnesty because it is benefiting all of us as taxpayers, including everyone who is a taxpayer and who is ready to enjoy the amnesty by paying their principal taxes. I think it's a good initiative that the government has given us, and basically we could say it is one of the good things, that we could talk about in the Finance Act 2023, and I believe majority of us are going to take advantage of that so that we comply, and so that also KRA benefits and the government at large. And I believe it has come at the right time, considering that since 2015, we have done a lot of automation, and you've realized that there are those of you who file late. Sometimes they file late for factors that are beyond their control. Sometimes because of economic hardships, you may also pay late, and so you find that you have penalties and interest. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to take advantage of this tax amnesty and comply as per the law. So we may not be able to do a live demo to the end because the environment that we use for training purposes is being upgraded. But I know we'll be able to discuss much about tax amnesty, specifically its application or how it is being administered in the system. That is basically iTax system. We have other systems. KRA has many other systems, but this one specifically will be done through iTax. That is for domestic taxes. Maybe for customs taxes and so on and so forth, that may be dealt with separately or differently. But for domestic taxes, when we talk about VAT, income tax, excise, withholding taxes, and so on and so forth, then the amnesty will be admitted through iTax. For periods where the filing was done in iTax, for periods where the filing was not done in iTax, we will have a different way of dealing with it because the penalties and interest may not be in the system. But for periods where tax were filed in iTax, they got a penalty in iTax, interests were charged in iTax, then basically the amnesty will be administered through iTax. Now, as per the guidelines that maybe you've already gone through, or maybe the law itself, the Finance Act 2023, I know you're much aware that the amnesty applies to periods prior to 31st December 2022. So the implementation of the amnesty in the system or in iTax, we have done it in two phases. We have already done the first phase of it. Phase one is for those taxpayers who have principal taxes for the tax periods before December 2022. For all taxes, be it withholding, be it income tax, payee, excise, VAT, for any taxpayer who has principal taxes, we have done the implementation in the system because what the law says is that you must apply or you shall apply to the commissioner and propose a payment plan. So that first phase of it, whereby for those taxpayers who have principal taxes and they want to apply, then we have enabled the system so that they can actually apply for the amnesty and propose a payment plan. So the payment plan basically is to tell the commissioner that I have these principal taxes for these particular periods, but I also have penalties and interest for these particular periods. I want to enjoy the amnesty for the penalty and interest, but I want to pay my principal taxes through a payment plan. So because the law says that you apply if you have principal taxes that are accrued that are still pending for the periods prior to 31st December 2022, then basically what it means is you're required to apply to the commissioner. So phase two will be for those taxpayers who do not have pending principal taxes for the periods before 31st December 2022. So if you just have penalties, maybe for late filing, 10,000 for VAT for several months, 10,000 for not filing on time, or any other form of penalty that you have or interest for prior periods, but you do not have principal taxes, then the amnesty will be automatic. We will do it automatically using the system, but that is now what is being worked on. That is still under implementation, and I said that is the phase two of it. So the phase one of it that has been completed is for the taxpayer. Remember, this Finance Act was challenged in court, and by the time a ruling was given, we were almost August. So at least within September, we have been able to do phase one of the amnesty, which applies now to taxpayers who have pending principal taxes. And once they pay the principal taxes, the system automatically vacates the interest and penalties. But for phase two, which will apply now to taxpayers who do not have any principal taxes for periods prior to 31st December 2022, then we will do it automatically through the system. We'll give the guidelines when the system enhancement part of it is done. We will give the guidelines to the public on how they can take advantage of that. But we intend to do it automatically without any application process. But where there's a principal tax, we have provided for it because the commissioner says we give you, not the commissioner, the law says we give you an opportunity to apply and to propose a payment plan, which must be honored by that 30th June 2024. So going to the iTax screen, we are all conversant with the application for waivers and penalties, application for waiver of penalties and interest, that menu, and a debt and enforcement menu. All of us as taxpayers have that. But now what we have done, we have on top of that, we have added the amnesty application bit of it. We have added it there. And so what taxpayers will need to do is to use the menu or the sub menu amnesty application. On your side, you will not be able to see application for waiver of interest and penalties because it's no longer applicable as per the law, because the law changed, removed that requirement. But you will find amnesty application. So you'll just click. We will share a guideline with the public once it is ready. There is one that we are working on how you guys can actually make an application through iTax for the amnesty. Hopefully within this month of October, we should be able to share it with you, and we will host it on our website. So keep checking our website, you'll find it there. Once it is finalized, we have the draft, but we're still finalizing it. And basically that is for iTax. So when you click amnesty application, as I said, for this one, we may not be able to do a live demo to the end because this training environment is being upgraded, and so we may not be able to move. But I have the system guidelines that we are working on. But the menu is basically under data and enforcement amnesty application. So I'll go straight to the guidelines. We will just see how from the guidelines how you'll be able to navigate through the system and then make this application. You will note that the guidelines are still in draft format. It's only that this training came much earlier. The guidelines are in draft format. We are still working on them, but just allow me to share them so that we can look at them, because there will be no much change on the guidelines as and when they are shared with you guys. So this is what we are working on. I believe it is visible. Let me just confirm. Let me just reconfirm that I'm sharing. Or I can just stop sharing and then I reshare again. So so I would like someone to confirm that they're able to see the guidelines. You able to see?
See them. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So these are in draft format, but we're in the process of just farming up the same so that we can share with you guys. And you can see it's a step-by-step guide on iTax amnesty application, which is still in draft form, as I said, but we are farming it up and we'll be able to share with you when it is ready. And the first part of it is just the introduction, which says that the Finance Act 2023 amended the Tax Procedures Act 2015, and it brought in a new section, 37E, which provides that the Commissioner shall refrain from recovering penalties or interest on tax debt where a person had paid all the principal tax due by that 1st December 2022. So the first bit of it is just to highlight the legal backing for the amnesty. And what is of importance is this one, which says that in addition, where all principal tax due had not been paid before 31st December 2022, a person shall apply to the commissioner for an amnesty of interest and penalty on the unpaid principal tax and propose a payment plan for the outstanding principal tax amount. So that is why we are provided for application in iTax, because if you still have principal taxes for periods prior to 31st December 2022, you are required by the law to apply to the commissioner and propose a payment plan. Even if you want to pay everything at once, you know, you may have several periods. You may have periods from 2016 for different taxes, be it VAT, pay as you earn, and so on and so forth. But maybe you want to pay in lump sum, you just pay. Maybe you have money now, you just pay. You clear the principal tax so that you get the amnesty, or you get so that the interest and penalties are waived or they are vacated. Then you still have to apply to the commissioner and maybe say, I want to pay in one installment. So that is why we are provided for that functionality in iTax for you to be able to apply. So we have categorized it into two. The first bit is for taxpayers. The first bit of amnesty application in iTax is for taxpayers with principal taxes for periods prior to 31st December 2022. So for those taxpayers, they will use the menu that I've just demonstrated. Most of the time, we prefer to do a live demo. It was my wish that we'll be able to do a live demo. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to do it, but I know we'll have more and more sessions on amnesty. So when as and when we have another session, we can be able to do a live demo. But in simple terms, all of us will have to log into our iTax profiles just the same way we log in to iTax to make our payments, to make our returns, and so on and so forth. And once you have logged into iTax, what you need to do is just to navigate to the data and enforcement menu. I know people may look for amnesty application menu. So we do not have a standalone menu under amnesty application, but we have anchored it under debt and enforcement menu, because that is the iTax functionality that we use to administer recovery of debt and also waiving of debt or waiving of interest and penalties. So you navigate to your debt and enforcement menu, and then you'll find, as I had shown below, you'll find the amnesty application and a drop down. And for those of you who are actually logged in as we speak, you can always confirm that using your personal pins, using pins for the companies that you work for, or even for the clients that you serve, if you are an accountant, if you're a tax agent, and so on and so forth. So once you select the amnesty application, as it is shown in this screen, maybe this screen will make more sense. Then you'll be required to, the system will display taxpayer details as per iTax, and basically that will be the first part of section A of the page. So these are the taxpayer details. You can see these are the taxpayer details. And what we have done for this particular enhancement is that we have provided for this. The taxpayer should provide the correct mobile number if the one displayed is not correct. So there are occasions whereby you might have already changed your mobile number. So we will display the mobile number that you gave us through iTax, because we may need to contact you. We may need to get in touch with you. Because remember, this amnesty is time bound. It is supposed to end by 30th June 2024. So if we see you are paid, you have applied for amnesty, and you have applied for a payment plan, and you have not paid, or you have paid and maybe payment has not reflected in our system, because occasionally we may have a system challenge, we may need to contact you to just know that you paid and you are you have complied and you are expecting the amnesty, or just to clarify, to get clarification on other issues here and there. So your mobile number will be displayed, but you can always change. At least for this one, we have allowed you to change. For the purposes of the amnesty, we will allow you to give us a mobile number that we can use to. So the system will display your information as we have it in iTax under section A, and then it will also display the tax periods. It will also allow you to select, let me just go back. So all tax periods will be auto-selected. So taxpayer will choose, or you will choose the relevant tax obligation and amnesty details, after which the amnesty details will be auto-populated. By default, all tax periods shall be auto-populated or auto-selected, but the taxpayer but if you dispute the amount being populated, then you can uncheck the box for the specific periods. So what I mean is, once you have confirmed that your details are okay, and maybe you have even changed the mobile number, you've given us what you think is good or what is the valid mobile number that we can contact you with, you will be allowed under amnesty details or under tax obligation to select the specific obligation that you want to apply amnesty for. Remember, you are as a business person or even as an employee or even as a taxpayer, you may have penalties and interests or even principal taxes relating to different tax obligations or tax heads. You may have VAT, you may have income tax, you may have pay as you earn, you may have withholding taxes, and so on and so forth. So the first thing is under this area that has a circled in red, you'll be required to select the tax obligation that you want to apply amnesty for. And the system will only populate once you have selected. For instance, for this particular case, income tax resident is selected by default. So the moment you choose income tax resident, the system will automatically populate all the yearly tax periods and their corresponding principal taxes, fines, interests, and penalties. And then total fines and interest and penalty, and then total of everything. So the system will automatically have ticked all the periods that have principal taxes for periods prior to 31st December 2022 will be auto-selected. So if you want to apply amnesty for all the tax periods for that particular tax head, then there's this button here we call add all button. So this, when you click add all, then you'll have added all the tax periods that have been auto-selected or auto-populated for the amnesty application. But if you want to apply for some, maybe you may find, like for this particular case, you may find that 2016 is genuine, you want to apply for it. You may find that 2017 has some reconciliation issues, so you dispute the principal tax, maybe because reconciliation between yourself and the employer has not been done here and there, and even 2018. So you may find that according to you, the principal tax is not genuine or it's not valid. It is a reconciliation issue that needs to be done, or there's an amended return that has been submitted to KRA and has not been effected, or there's a data correction or return data correction activity that is ongoing with KRA and the same has not been done. So you can untick those particular periods, because remember, when you submit the application, your payment plan will be pegged. It will be pegged on the total principal taxes that you have selected for the application. So you can always unselect the periods that are in dispute. So you only add the periods that you agree with. Then once you have done that, you can always go back and select other tax obligations. For this one I've selected income tax resident, but I can come back after I have added all. I can come back and select VAT. I do the same. I select pay as you earn. I do the same. So once I do the same, so the added. So I'll request those who unmute, please mute. Those who are unmute. Please make sure that you mute so that we can...
Tafungiwa mpaka tukazipata mpaka ulikuwa unatoka nje unasikia nini? Hapana. Ulikuwa unafika nje unashangaa ni nini? Haya ni nini? Ni nini?
There's one person. We need the person to mute.
Why don't we mute all? Mute everybody except you.
Let me try to mute everyone. I think we are good now. Good. So we can proceed. We can proceed with the presentation so that we finish on the expected time. Let me just go back to where I was. So here we are. So the next activity, once you have selected, I think I went out when I was explaining, you can add all the relevant tax obligations that have principal taxes. You can add by your income tax, you add, you come back, you select VAT, you add, and then you select pay as you earn, you add. So that is tab or section A on the Amnesty application form. That is what you'll be able to do. So once you've done that, you'll be taken now to the second tab, this one, section B. So section B, that is where you'll find that the amnesty details will be populated in section B. And again, we have now the amnesty payment plan details. So section B is where you will find what you have added, the obligations you have added. Like if you can see for this particular case, we have income tax resident. I've added 2 periods, and then I've also added VAT on top of it. Remember, the system is intelligent enough, and it will only populate for periods prior to 31st December 2022, and it will only populate periods where there is principal tax, because that is basically what the law requires you to apply for a payment plan for. So once you have confirmed everything is okay, then you can give us your amnesty payment plan details. So basically, what are these amnesty plan or payment plan details? They are anchored, or they are just they have just been designed. It is a simplified. It is like a simplified amnesty payment plan facility, which is almost similar to the payment plan facility that we have. But now this one is more simplified because it is for a period running up to that year, June 2024. So the system will by default give you the total principal tax, and it will tell you to put the number of installments to be paid. So if you are in that category, if you're in that category whereby you want just to pay, maybe you do not have many principal taxes that are pending for these periods. Maybe you have only 2 for a small amount. So what you will do, you'll just select one installment, number of installments, you'll just put 1. So when you select 1, the system will give the entire amount per installment equal to the principal tax. If you just select 1 installment. If you select 2, the system will prorate based on the total principal tax. If you select 10, the system will take the number of installments that you've selected and divide it amongst the total principal tax that you're required to pay. But again, even if we give you many installments, remember the last one must be honored by 30th June 2024. So if you select one, because it's just one, the due date will be in the month that you are paying. The due date will be in the month that you are paying. But of course, you have up to 30th June. But we prefer that you make the payment as soon as possible, because once you make the payment, that is the only time we'll be able to vacate the interest and penalties related to the principal taxes that had accrued for periods prior to 31st December 2022. Then you'll be required, once you've given us your number of installments and you've given us, and the system has calculated the amount per installment, then you can agree to the terms and conditions, which we will see shortly. And then once you've done that, you'll submit and you'll get an acknowledgement. There's something you'll get a receipt. You know, we call it an amnesty application acknowledgement receipt with amnesty details and payment plan details, like this one. This is a sample one. You'll get something like this. I know you're familiar with our documents, so you'll be able to get something like this, which will have a reference number. It will show you our details and session, and then it will show the number of installments, amount per installment, equal installments, first installment date, and installment frequency. It can be monthly or quarterly. Basically, it can just be monthly or quarterly because this is running for less than a year. So we'll just have monthly and we also have quarterly. There's also an option for quarterly here. If we are doing a live demo, we'll be able to see that. But there's also an option for installment frequency. There's an option for quarterly. You can pay quarterly. And then the system will just give details of what you've applied for, the amnesty stroke payment plan details. So it will populate the tax obligation, the tax period, the payment plan amounts, and then interest amount and penalty amount, and then the total. And then the conditions are specified there. The conditions are specified there. We can look at them, or you can always look at them when you get the acknowledgement or the receipt. Like the first one says, amnesty shall only be applicable for periods up to 31st December 2022, where all the pending principal taxes have been cleared. And I think that is what the law says. The form, or this form, shall serve as an amnesty application and the payment plan agreement. Where the taxpayer cannot honor the payment plan agreement, they should seek prior approval from the TSO head before the due date, stating the reason and the proposed payment date for the next installment. So it is always good, actually, when you apply for the amnesty and you have a payment plan, just get in touch with your TSO so that they can monitor how you're making your payments as per the payment plan. And if you have any other issues or challenges, then they can always assist you. Any penalties and interest relating to the principal tax under the amnesty period that remains unpaid after 30th June 2024 shall not qualify for amnesty. The way the system has been set up is we will only vacate the penalties and interest for the principal tax that has been paid or that has been cleared. If there's a tax period where some part of the principal tax has not been cleared for one reason or the other, then the system will not be able to vacate the penalty and interest for that particular period. Upon default of the payment plan agreement without acceptable explanation or solution, enforcement measures shall be applicable. Basically, what the law, that statement says is, once we give a payment plan, we need to honor the payment plan for us to qualify for the amnesty. And of course, if we don't take advantage of the amnesty by the stated period, then the tax will be due and payable. So once you've generated a payment plan, which also acts as an application for amnesty, then the next question is, somebody would ask, how do I pay? Is there a specific tab or a specific place or menu that I need to go to make the application. So to make it simple, because most of us are used to the payment menu for iTax, we've just anchored the payment for the Amnesty or the payment, the principal taxes for this period that is being covered within the existing payment process in iTax. So for you to generate a payment slip, you'll just click on the payments menu and then select payment registration, as we have always done. You know, the same menu that we have always used to generate the payment slip for the normal taxes that we are paying is the same one. And then you will select the applicable tax head and subhead to be paid for. The usual process of making a payment through iTax. If it is you're paying for, you're applying or you're making a payment for pay as you earn, so your tax head will just be income tax and your subhead will be pay as you earn, or payee as it is referred to. So once you've selected as usual, the system will populate the details as you can see. You can see in this screen. So the tax head, income tax, resident, for my case, it was a resident. And then the payment type is self-assessment as usual, just the self-assessment. Because remember, we are pulling these details from your iTax account, where you file your returns, and from your ledger, where the penalties exist. So once you select the payment, the tax head, the subhead, and the payment type as self-assessment, the system will automatically populate all the liabilities or all the periods with principal taxes for you. So once the system has done that, you'll click on the review button and modify the amount to be paid equal to the principal tax or equal to the installment amount. The amount to be paid, basically you edit this tab, which is the amount to be paid section, and it is usually this one, the highlighted one. So the amount to be paid, remember, the system will populate principal tax, it will add it up, it will sum it up to the penalty, to the interest, and then the amount payable is what will be reflected in the last space, or in the last cell. So this cell is what you need to edit to make sure that the amount you put here is equal to the principal tax. And that is what this statement is saying, that you need to modify. You click the radio button. Remember, for you to modify, you click this radio button, the blue one, for the period you want to edit. So you click on this button. Once you have clicked on it, this field will be open for you to edit. And then, so click on the radio button and modify the amount to be paid equal to the principal tax or equal to the installment amount. Now, so what we have done, the system will not allow generating payments with amounts higher than the principal tax due. However, where the principal tax has a decimal values, round off the amount to the nearest 1 shilling, and then click to select mode of payment and submit. To simplify that English, what basically we are saying is, for these periods prior to 31st December 2022, you'll not be allowed to generate a payment slip that is more than the principal tax. That is basically what it says. But you can edit to zero, or I mean from 0 to 1. You can edit, you can round off the amount to 1. You can pay one bob, where the principal amount is in decimal. Like if it is, for this particular case, if it was 0.41, you'll be allowed to pay 1 bob. But you'll not be able to generate a payment slip for more than this amount, so long as it's for periods prior to 31st December 2022. So basically that is it for payment slip generation. Once you have added or you have edited, our system has a way of allocating the payment. When you make whatever you make, the system will allocate the amount you pay. The system will allocate the principal tax first. So whatever you pay, that has always been the payment, that has always been the payment process in iTax. Whatever you pay first goes to principal tax, and then the rest will go to fines, and then penalty, and then interest. We call it the PFPI principle. So once you've done that, once payment has been received in the iTax system or reconciled, that is the word, reconcile, the payment has been reconciled, the system shall vacate the respective penalties and interest for the period and issue an amnesty certificate. So the vacation of penalties and interest in the system is pegged on full payment of the principal tax that you have applied for or that is pending for those particular periods. So then it means once you're paid, there is no back-end process, because we didn't want a scenario whereby you're paid and then you're still coming to a TSO to ask for the waiver or to ask for the vacation of the penalty and interest. So the way the system has been designed is you need to pay, and once you're paid, then the system will automatically vacate the penalties and interest for the respective periods that fall within 31st December 2022 and going back. And then we have tax amnesty now for taxpayers with no principal taxes for periods prior to 31st December with no principal taxes. The first one is where there's a principal tax, you are required to apply to the commissioner. But where there is no principal tax, then you don't need to apply to the commissioner. So what I've said in this guideline is that the iTax system is being enhanced to vacate all fines, penalties, and interest for taxpayers who have paid all principal tax due. So this is what we are working on. It's in progress, and once it is done, either you'll see the penalties have just vanished from your system or from your ledgers, or will tell you what to do. I think the conditions have already been enumerated in the amnesty application. In the amnesty application acknowledgement receipt that you get, but you can just go through them just to see if there is some that are not captured there. So amnesty cannot be initiated for periods with no principal tax liability for the sector tax period. So that is basically what I've said. If there is no principal tax, we will waive the penalties or interest automatically, but that is being worked on. Then principal tax has to be cleared by 30th June, and basically that is as per the law for the taxpayer to qualify for the amnesty. And the number of installments cannot be beyond 30th June 2024. And that is why I said we only have option for monthly and quarterly, because we are already almost mid-year for the amnesty. And then amnesty shall only be applicable for periods up to 31st December 2022, where all the principal taxes has been cleared. And actually, if you file your return today, for 2020, for example, you still qualify for the amnesty because the penalty, of course, will be imposed today, but the return is for periods prior to 31st December 2022. So even if you file today, you still qualify. You still qualify for the amnesty. Then first installment is due on the date of the amnesty application. I think this is important. So basically, if you apply for the amnesty today, it is good that if you have given yourself installments, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first installment is due on the date of application. So you apply, go to the bank, pay first installment, wait for the rest. Now, if it is monthly, wait for next month, you pay the second one until you finish all the installments. And then you'll be able to, the system will be able to vacate the penalties and interest for you. Any penalties and interest relating to the principal tax under the tax amnesty period that remains unpaid after 30th June shall not qualify for the amnesty. I think we saw that. And then the rest, the other stories are well captured in the guideline. So this guideline is for iTax management of the amnesty program. We are still reviewing it, and once it is ready, we will host it on our website for you guys to refer to. It is still in draft form, and that is why you could see it is not so well arranged. It is supposed to be, But once that is done, we will host it on the website for you to refer to it. So I think basically that is how it is. I want to go to the chat to see if there are some questions which I can respond to. Before we open the floor.
Okay, Benson.
Hi.
Hi, so thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Yes, we had done a sample of the questions from the chat because some are repetitive. So we have,
Good.
yes. So we can just maybe be asking them out as you respond to
Okay.
them.
Okay. That is good enough.
Yeah, so thank you. And so we'll begin with the Freemark. Freemark wanted to understand, I think this is when we had started the session and we had asked about the expectations from the those who are on call. And I hope Freemark enterprises, you have been able to understand what this tax amnesty is, the conditions, and who is eligible. That was the question. But in case it was not clear, you can always refer to this conversation. Remember, we were live on KRA TV as well as on our YouTube KRA TV. So you can always refer to this presentation there. So as I move on, someone was saying, or there was an issue that arose about those who are saying that they had applied for this amnesty way back in 2015. Others are saying they had applied in recently in 2020. So maybe just to bring that difference, is there a difference between tax amnesty and waiver?
Okay.
Yeah, that has come out quite a lot. I don't
Can
know
I
if I
respond
just
to that
ask as
first?
you respond. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I know the government has been trying to encourage compliance almost in every financial year. I remember in 2015 we had some amnesty. We had one for residential rental income for people who had not declared residential rental income for some years, which also had some time period. It expired. We had another one for foreign income. It expired. We had another one recently. We had another one now for people who had not declared income for periods, I think, between 2015 somewhere there, or 2016 to 2020. It was called the voluntary tax disclosure program, which is still running. I think this is the last year, if I'm not wrong. But that was for people who had not declared some taxes. If you had some taxes that you had not declared for those periods, then the law allowed you to declare and then to pay the principal taxes, and then you get waiver of automatic remission of waiver or automatic waiver of penalty and interest for those periods. So this one is different because what this one has done is, remember now we do not have waiver. You know, this law came with it's a catch-22. There is no waiver moving forward. Yeah. Remember initially you could apply for, you could file late, you could pay late, you get a penalty for failing for filing late, you get a penalty for late payment, and so on and so forth. So moving forward, that penalty, that waiver, and then you apply for waiver. You could apply for waiver, you know, as at the time this law came into effect. But remember now moving forward, there is no provision for waiver of interest and penalty. It is not there. That window is closed. But that is why now the law went ahead now to give us an opportunity. If you had penalties for periods prior to 31st December 2022, you apply, you pay your principal tax, assuming it is genuine, it's a genuine principal tax, you make payment of it, and then you qualify now for the waiver of interest and penalty. So moving forward, there is no waiver. Waiver has been closed. And if you check the menu for waiver and our tax profiles, it is not there. It has already been taken away because the law has done away with it. But now we have this window of, if you have past if you have past penalties and interest, even the ones you had applied for waiver, the ones that you had applied for waiver, so long as they fall within that period of up to 31st December 2022, they will be dealt with as part of this tax amnesty. So the voluntary tax disclosure, I think this is the final year. It is still there for those who had not disclosed some income for periods for those periods that were stated in the last in that Finance Act. I think it is 2020 or 2021. So it is there, but this one is different. This one is basically it doesn't have many conditions. The only condition is the penalties and interest must be for periods prior to 31st December 2022, and you pay the principal tax. So it is different. So I hope I've responded.
Yes, I think that is very clear. It has come out a lot in the chat. Another one is maybe it was not so clear. Does the amnesty cover all the tax heads, or there are specific tax heads that are covered by this amnesty? And to add on that, Rizwan also asked if it applies to things like land rates. Hello, Benson, you still there?
Yes, yes. I think our distracted is okay. Yeah. So it applies to all tax heads. I did not get the last statement, but it applies to all tax heads. Pay, VAT, withholding, and so on. It applies to all of them.
Thank you, Benson. Maybe you can also clarify to Rizwan whether the amnesty applies to land rates. It's not a tax head per se, but maybe you can just put in a comment on that.
I'm not sure. I think that one we can find out. But remember, land rates is it should be land rates. I think is ages revenue. We don't collect. It's not under the tax laws that we administer. I think we do it for other government agencies, so it may not be covered under this program. But it's something we can always find out and relay back the information.
Okay, thank you for that. From the presentation, I think it was clear that the amnesty applies to the penalties, interest, and fines, not to the principal. So the question that has come up a lot is, what is this principal tax really?
Okay. So I think principal tax, I think people can define it differently. But to me, I would say it is tax due, the tax that you are supposed to pay, exclusive of interest and penalty and fines and so on and so forth. The people may define it differently, but I would say when you file your return, there is what you are expected to pay. Yeah, assuming you are filing on time, you want to pay on time. So that tax that you're supposed to pay, the tax due that you're supposed to pay on time. If it was 1 million before penalty and interest, that is what I would refer to principal tax. The self-assessed, basically the self-assessed part of the tax when you file your return and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question that has come up a lot is on is there any exemption on amnesty? Let's say, what I'm saying here is we've seen the conditions for the amnesty, but are there exemptions? Like, for example, if someone has like a case, an ongoing case at TAT, for example, do they still qualify to apply for this amnesty? Or what are some of those things that can cause someone not to be eligible for the amnesty?
Okay, yeah, I think those I think those are some of the administrative challenges or issues that we may have. And I think I do not have a copy of the internal guidelines that we have, but we can refer to them and maybe give clarity to taxpayers who may be affected, because I think they still qualify. But now, because of the way the system is set up, that item or that challenge that will make you not to apply for the amnesty needs to be resolved. If it is a principal tax that is not genuine, maybe because it has been some reconciliation or some payment has not been captured here and there. So those are the administrative issues that we will be dealing with as and when they arise. So for guys who have cases ongoing at TAT, I think they will still qualify, but as and when, I think, when the issue is resolved, because if it is still a dispute, we cannot still say with certainty that it is a genuine principal tax or it is not genuine principal tax. So I think those are some of the cases that we'll be dealing with as we move with the administration of the amnesty, alongside other issues that may emerge, like reconciliation issues and so on and so forth.
You've informed us that the rollout has not been done yet on iTax. So someone who needs like a tax compliance certificate and they're still waiting for this amnesty, to take advantage of the amnesty, what would be your advice to individuals who need tax compliance, but because of maybe they have issues to do with penalties or interest that are unpaid? How can they go about maybe accessing the tax compliance certificate as they wait for the rollout of the amnesty on iTax?
Thank you. Yes, as I said, we've not yet rolled out for taxpayers who do not have principal tax, those who have just the late filing penalties and interest and so on and so forth. So for those ones, they will still be facilitated for now. In the meantime, they will still be facilitated through the existing plan that we have, the framework that we have, whereby you engage your TSO, you inform them you intend to apply for amnesty for the periods that have been penalized. So in the meantime, they give you tax compliance, and I think there are several whom I've dealt with and they have been facilitated. So long as you inform the station you intend to take advantage of the amnesty, and you only have pending principal taxes and pending penalties and interest for these periods prior to 31st December 2022, then you'll be given the tax compliance certificate from our office. So you'll be facilitated to apply for the tax compliance certificate from your profile.
Thank you. At least that is good news from where most of us sit. So yes, you can be facilitated to get a tax compliance certificate as you await to get to take advantage of this amnesty. The issue is you must first inform your station, and then you can be able to be facilitated to get the tax compliance certificate. So I can see those were the major questions that were asked on the chat, but we still have people who have raised their hands. I think we can give them a chance, Ben, for them to ask their query.
That is okay.
Okay, so we'll start with George. George, if you can please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, thank you, Benson and team. That was a very informative training. Now, my question is on a case where the penalties and interest relate to installment taxes. Like, for example, for a company, when you go to the iTax, you find that there's a place they're saying there was underpayment of installment taxes. But in the specific period prior to that year, there were tax overpayments, and our tax advisors had written to KRA telling them that we are utilizing these overpayments to offset against the installment tax. So do you guys consider those overpayments to offset against these installment tax underpayments? That's the question.
Okay. So thank you, George. I think for George, it's an issue of reconciliation. So for the way we are going to set up the system for those periods prior to 31st December 2022, we will look at whether there is principal tax. If there is no principal tax, then we will do away with the existing penalties and interest. So long as they belong to those particular periods, that 1st December 2022 going back. But again, coming to the issue of penalties for underpayment of installment taxes, it's an issue we can look at. I know we've been dealing with those cases. You see, when you have an overpayment, yes, it can be used, but is there because if I make an overpayment today, let's say I overpay this year, and I think this relates to corporate taxes. Today we give you a voucher which you can use to pay the next installment if you overpaid your installments for the previous year. So we give you a voucher which you can use to make the next payment. So the issue of our payment has been sorted out. But now for past cases, the question that we have always been looking at when we receive these cases where I am, is we look at whether this overpayment that it had been done, what maybe George has referred to, what was the context? How was it paid? Was it just paid as an advance payment, not attached to installments or to balance of tax and so on and so forth? So we always look at it, how it was paid. And for those particular cases, we look at if the installment was actually due and it was supposed to be paid, and you add an overpayment. Where we sit, we don't assume that you want to use that overpayment to offset the installment. So you have to let KRA know through your station that I've overpaid for this year and my intention is to actually use my and you have not applied for a refund. My intention is to use this overpayment to offset the next installment. So if there was that arrangement between yourself and the TSO, then where I sit, we can assist, maybe through a system intervention, whereby now we can change the payments to, either we change them to installment payments and we capture the correct date and so on and so forth. So we only deal with them on a case-by-case basis. But so long as there is no principal tax and it is for those periods, then I believe those penalties and interest will qualify for the amnesty.
Okay, thank you, Ben. That was clear. George, do you have a follow-up question on the same, or are you okay?
I'm okay.
All right.
Thank you. I'm fine.
Okay. Sawa sawa. Thank you, George. Thank you, Ben. So we'll move on to Naomi. Naomi, please, you can unmute yourself and ask your query.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon
Hi.
to you.
My question, I have two questions. One, we filed a final tax late, so I incurred an interest. So I'm asking if I can apply for the same. The second question is, we on our high tax regia, the KRA system did not factor in the carry forward for, I think, 2020 to 2021 when we were filing for VAT. So now on my payments, when you go to registration payments, you see like I'm supposed to pay KRA, the VAT for those months, but in real sense, there was a credit brought forward that was not captured. So how will I remove those one and apply for the amnesty of the fine and interest that has been accrued? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Naomi, for that question. For the the first question relates to balance of tax, I think, which was paid late and a penalty accrued. If your year end is, if your year was ending 31st December 2022, I think that should qualify. So if your year was ending 31st December 2022 and maybe you paid your balance of tax in June instead of 30th April, so I think that one will qualify because the penalties and interest fall within the period within which the amnesty is running for. So I think that should surface. It may be tricky if it falls within, or if your tax period was ending in January or Feb. But so long as it was ending in 31st December 2022, then you should be able to get uh, uh, the amnesty when we roll out now for the automatic one for those without principal taxes. So I believe if you already cleared the balance of tax, then you should be able to qualify. And then for the second question, the iTax ledger for VAT, some credits have not been carried forward. I think for VAT, we look at it from on a case-by-case basis, because when you carry forward your credit for VAT, we assume that you don't need it for that particular month. And remember, the law is very clear that you can only carry forward VAT credit moving forward into the future, not back. So when you carry forward your credit for VAT, then we assume that in that particular month, if you had excess withholding taxes, if you had excess input VAT, VAT on imported services, and you carried it forward to the next period, then we expect that you don't need it in that particular month. We assume at that particular time, you've done your self-declaration, true and fair reflection of what the commissioner is supposed to get. So you've accounted for your records well, and you have moved the credit that you need into the future. So if you move it into the future, we expect any subsequent liability that you accrue moving forward, the credit that you've carried forward from the previous period is given attention first, or the system has a way of setting it off in your next period against the output VAT that you incur. Now, there are scenarios whereby genuinely the system may not net off your VAT credit in the next period for one reason or the other, but those cases are very few. So we may need to look at your particular case. But there is another version now of the VAT credit carried forward to the other period. When you go back to the period where this credit arose, and you make some adjustments, like for example, you go back to January 20. We are now in 2023 October. Let's say you go back to January 2023. In that month of January, you add some input VAT of 500,000, excess input VAT of 500,000, or excess withholding credit for VAT of 500,000. And you have carried it forward because, as I said, we assumed you don't need it in that particular month. So we balance your ledger. Actually, if you check, in as much as you have excess credits for that particular period, we balance your ledger 0-0. So there's no excess in the ledger. The reason also we balance your ledger is we carry forward the credit, and we balance it when you come forward and you use the credit in the subsequent periods. So when you carry forward the credit and use it in subsequent periods, then you go back. Maybe you have actually used half of it. Maybe I have given the example of 500,000, and you've gone back, you've carried it forward all the way from January to current period, and you've used 250 of it up to the current period. Then you go back to where the credit arose. Let's say it's January 2023. And you go and you reduce that credit to 0. The 500, you reduce it to 0. Your return for that period definitely, or you reduce it to like from 500, you reduce it to 200, and you have already used part of the 500 in the current period. So when you go back, occasionally you will find that when you amend the return, you'll have something to pay. In as much as your return will be showing it is in a credit position for that period, you'll be required to pay something because you have already consumed your credit moving forward. So for those particular cases, like the case that Naomi has, we have to look at them on a case-by-case basis to actually confirm whether there was a return amendment, whether there was an additional assessment that was done for past periods, or whether there was a return data correction that was actually done to distort the original credit position for that particular period. So once now we do that, and I know we'll be having these cases, then we can establish whether the principal tax is actually genuine, or if it is not genuine, we can find a way of intervening through the system to do away with it, so that now you can qualify for the amnesty. But as and when it is established that you've already consumed your credit in subsequent periods, then you'll be required to pay for that particular period where you went back and you distorted the, or you changed the original credit position for that particular period.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Naomi, I hope you have been sorted by that response.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So moving forward, before I give Hina a chance, there is a growing concern on our chat. I don't know if this is on a light note or not. They're saying that they had already paid their penalties and interests. Can they do a refund, and will KRA refund? They were proactive to pay their penalties, but now they have heard about the amnesty and they don't have these penalties because they already paid. What would be your
I think that
comment
is,
on that, Benson?
I think that is interesting, and I think they paid. Okay, okay. I think there is no. I don't know whether I have the correct answer for that. Okay, I don't see the refund coming, but but anyway, we can discuss it further. But I don't have I don't have an answer for now for that. Yeah, they actually I think there are taxpayers who want their ledgers to be clean, especially when it comes to getting tax compliance certificates, and they just
Yes.
want to clear the penalties and so on and so forth. And we have actually even this week seen others who do not even want to take advantage of the amnesty. They just want their ledger clean, so they
Yeah.
just want to pay, and then they're done with their ledger is clean. Every time they need their tax compliance, they just get it from wherever they are. So for that fellow Kenyan, I don't know whether I have a correct answer for that. Yeah, but I'm not seeing a refund coming through.
Okay. Thank you for that response. So that concern on the chat, I've seen it. I've been prompted to ask because I was trying to like bypass, and I was like, no, ask. So there you go. So Hina, you can please go ahead and unmute yourself. And before Hina, you speak, sorry about that. I have seen a lot of questions on eTIMS. So we have shared the contact for eTIMS on the chat to everyone. So please, you can direct your questions on eTIMS to the eTIMS office. They can be able to respond, because today we would kindly wish to focus on tax amnesty as the topic of the day. So the queries on eTIMS, VAT special table, all those questions, I've seen them on the chat. Please direct them to the contact we have made available on the chat box kindly. So Hina, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. It's very well explained. I have two issues. One, just recently heard about ledger cleaning. So how do we do that? Number two, I had an issue with pay as you earn in 2014 when we moved from manual to iTax. After all these years, currently the principal has been removed in quotes. Now I'm left with penalty and interest. I was told to wait for amnesty. I'm trying to understand, how does this amnesty come in when I was not at any fault? It was just a reconciliation matter. And I went to go and check online just now, and it says that principal has been paid, so there's nothing to do with amnesty. how can I be assisted in that? Thank you.
Thank you, Hina. I think I've gotten the challenge that she's facing. Let me start with the last question. Pay 2014. Maybe you paid as advance payment. You moved to iTax. The return was done in iTax. So those issues that we had when transitioning from iTax to transitioning from manual to iTax in early years of 2014. So there are two ways that can be handled. For me, I would go in as much as it is not strictly an issue of the amnesty. For me, I will go with the amnesty because the moment we switch on or we roll out the amnesty for periods prior to 31st December, where there is no principal tax, like our case, then the penalty and interest will just vanish from the ledger. There is another way because there is something we call erroneous penalty and interest, and that still exists. It's an administrative process in KRA. It is not a waiver. You know, waiver was anchored in the law, but we have cases whereby it is not because of your fault. Sometimes you get a penalty and interest, either because KRA has not reconciled the records and so on and so forth. So the other route is for that to be handled through the process we call reversal of erroneous penalties and interest, which can be done by officers, but it's a longer process because you have to write a letter, you have to explain the reconciliation issue that you've been having with KRA when it was reconciled and so on and so forth, and then they can reverse the penalty and interest through KRA or through iTax, but it is not available on the taxpayer side. It's only available to our officers who have those rights to actually vacate a penalty or interest that was imposed erroneously because of a system issue here and there. So there's that route. It's a bit longer because you have to justify or you have to give evidence that you paid on time and so on and so forth. But the one for amnesty will still play the same role. It's only that we're using different terms, but even the one for amnesty will just vacate the penalty and the interest. So it will be done when we fully roll out that. Then there's the issue of ledger cleaning. I think the ledger cleaning is it's a big term, and it could involve periods in iTax on periods before iTax. So I'm not sure about your case, but I know for iTax it is good if you have any principal taxes, we will still call that ledger cleaning. If you have some principal that are still there in your ledgers, in iTax ledgers, and which are either erroneous for one reason or the other, or which there is a dispute ongoing, so that is also a process of ledger cleaning. But there is also another one that is usually done for periods past iTax, and I believe it is also part of the amnesty process that we are going into it. So it is good if it is good for our taxpayers, those who have ledger cleaning issues. It is also good that they deal with them, they continue doing them with our officers, so that
Thank you for the encouragement.
they qualify for the amnesty.
Muleta mkono Chepkong, I'm not seeing your hand back.
Sorry about that. I think we have muted everyone now. But I think
yeah, can I talk now?
Yes, please.
Okay, so with the so-called ledger sorting, where do we go? Is there a specific office, or we have to start with our account manager? And number two, for my pay as you earn, you've since you've recommended that I wait for that for the amnesty. When do you think we are going to start the process?
Okay, thank you, Ina. Yeah, for ledger cleaning, you start with your account manager. They will look at the issues. They will separate the iTax issues and the manual issues. If it is iTax issues, the account manager should be able to handle from where they are. If they are not able to handle from where they are, they will escalate to us. iTax issues. For past issues before iTax, there's an office where they will look at them and then forward them to the particular office that deals with the manual capture of ledgers and so on and so forth in our system before iTax. So all will start from the account manager, who will be able to separate the ones to handle from the station and the ones to be forwarded now to. There's a unit in domestic taxes we call accounts management, who will be able to look at that. Amnesty for periods that do not have penalty and interest. I may not be able to give you the timelines, but as soon as possible, we were able to do this other one within the month of September. So we hope within October or November, we should be able to now finalize for the other version of taxpayers who do not have, and who are the majority, who do not have penalties, who do not have principal taxes that are pending for prior periods. But as and when it is ready, we will be able to inform you through our marketing team.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hina, for your questions, and thank you, Ben, for responding conclusively. So I think the question has also been answered from Banindra. I can see you had a similar question to Hina's. Unless you have another concern, I can give you a chance. Maybe you can unmute and ask your question if it has not been addressed, because I think they're similar to what has been asked. I can see your hand is up. Banindra Kumar, please go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon. Yes, my question is a little different. You know, the many PA assessments were done in January 23, and we were asked to submit so many documents, bank statements, and invoices, and we did. And immediately after we submitted, then we received a letter from email from KRA that this was a system error. Honestly, it was done. There were a lot of assessments were done for many traders, and those amounts are still outstanding in all our ledgers. So we are having a problem with the, TCC. Of course, we managed to get when we got in touch with the account manager. But how long it will take that liability to remove from our system? Last time also, about 3 years before, it was the same thing. February, March, April, May 2018, where PA assessments were done. And it took almost 2 years to remove those debits. And then some were not allowed, and then interest penalty came, and then we had to pay. So I'm just wondering how soon this debt, it is almost 9 months now, when it is going to remove from our ledger appears clean, neat and clean. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it on the chat. Thank you, Kumar.
Thank you.
I think there was the issue of VA assessments. I remember VA has been with us for some time, from 2015. We've not been issuing assessments for some time, but something happened in January 2019, where the system issued the VA assessments. I mean, happened in January 2023, where the system issued assessments for some periods in 2019. So that is, I know initially we didn't have, we were looking at a better way to deal with the issue, either through the objection process or through a system intervention. And we noted that, through the dispute or objection process, it will be a long process. So we decided that we are going to deal with it from a system perspective. And we are handling it currently. There is a team that is working on reversing the VAS that were issued in January 2022, in January 2023, alongside the tasks that were created for objection and so on and so forth. So it's a system issue that we are handling, and we hope to. For now, I may not know where it has reached, but I think in our monthly meetings for this month, we can get that update from ICT on where they are. But I know there is a team that has been working on it from September this month, the month that has just ended.
Thank you very much. We were asked to submit the objection, which we all did, but thank you very much. I appreciate your response. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Ben. And thank you, Kumar, for that concern, which has been addressed conclusively. So in the interest of time, I can see we are headed to 1 in the PM. So I'd like to give those who have their hands up, Anne, Ewanjiru, Bliss Bistro, and A. Mohammed, just the 4 of them. And then you can be able to call it a day. You can also be able to get this presentation, remember, on our KRA TV, YouTube, and even KRA website. So I'll start with Anne. Please unmute yourself and ask your question, even as we conclude the session.
Thank you very much. Now, my concern is in regards to the legacy balances, just almost similar to Hina's, but now in a case where the principal tax was moved to iTax, but not the payments. So that means you don't qualify for the automatic amnesty. Is it possible for KRA maybe to, I don't know, to establish a team to look into these things, because we've done our best on our side, and yeah, it would be best to just see this completed and done with.
Thank you, Anne. I think that is a good question. So if the debit was moved from legacy to iTax, the balance, I would also want to know maybe why the payment was not moved, because what actually should have happened is the net effect of the two. If you had overpayments of 50,000 and maybe you had paid 50,000, the debit was 100,000, then they were supposed to move. The balance, but maybe it's a case that we can. I don't know if our team can pick it up. Maybe we find out from our team. We have a team that deals with the payments. It can pick up. We just know where it is. We can actually escalate or follow up with the CDO team, our corporate data office team, to know why the payment has not been moved, if at all there is a payment that was supposed to be moved.
Okay, thank you, because we've really submitted all the necessary documents and paperwork, proof of payments and everything. So it would really be good to have somebody follow up on that.
Okay, we will do that, Anne. So what you can do, please share privately your email, and we can be able to, and even phone number, and then after this call, we can be able to get in touch and follow up on the same, please. So please share your details privately, and then we'll get back to you. So we can move on to Wanjiru. Please unmute yourself, and you can ask your question or concern.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this informative session. I think the trainer touched on the following situation. However, I would like to have a clarification. So we wish to file 2016 withholding tax in this current month, where we wish to file and pay. So I'm wondering whether we qualify for the amnesty, or that we are introducing the liability now. That is my question.
Thank you, Wanjiru. Anne Wanjiru, yeah. You qualify. You will qualify. So long as the period is past December 2022 and you've cleared the principal tax, you will qualify for the amnesty. That is how we've set out the system, and I think even our internal guidelines have made it clear that you will qualify.
Okay. Just to be clear, so once we pay, we need to apply, and then now, or is it going to be automatic? Like once we
Yes,
pay?
yes. You will need to pay. You'll need to pay, and you'll need to apply, because
Okay.
the moment you file, you'll have
Yes.
a principal tax for if it is January 2016, you'll have a once you file, you pay the principal tax, and remember the payment slip that you get for withholding tax. Okay, for your case, I don't know. We can what you can do, because when you upload the withholding tax, the payment slip that comes out, you don't generate another one. The one that comes out automatically with principal tax, exclusive of interest and penalty. So what you can do, once you have uploaded, before you go and pay using the current one, the current payment slip that you have, just go to the amnesty application window, try to apply for the amnesty, and then once you have applied for the amnesty, now you can use the payment slip that you had generated to go to the bank and make a payment for the same.
Okay. So we've already paid for a few months, and when I go to the amnesty option, it says we have no interest that is due. That falls within that period, which is not the case. Is it because the system has not enabled that option, where principal is not pending?
Maybe I need to check how your account looks like, because if you have already paid for the periods that you have already paid, because as I explained again, for withholding, withholding is a special tax obligation. When you generate the payment slip, it comes out with the principal alone. So if you have already paid for those periods that you have already paid, then it means in your amnesty application, the system will not populate, because you have already paid the principal tax. But if there is a period that you have filed, you have not paid the principal tax, and when you go to the amnesty application, it does not populate, then you can share that with us, then we can find out what the issue is, and then we can advise you whether you can still pay and then wait for the automatic one, which we are working on, or whether we can enhance it from our system to make sure that it pulls that. So where the
Hello?
Sorry, Ben. Ben, are you still with us?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking to myself. I was speaking to myself. Sorry.
Just the last bit. Sorry, we lost you a bit on the last part.
So I was responding to Wanjiru, and I was saying, if she has uploaded the withholding tax bit and she has paid, when you go to the amnesty application, the system will not populate the periods you have paid for. But if it is not populating for periods where the principal tax has been paid, then that is something that we can pick up on our side. But ideally, even if it doesn't pick and you pay, you will qualify now for the automatic one that will roll out in phase 2.
Okay. Thank you. So can I just pay the other ones and wait for the second phase?
Yes, that is okay. That is okay. You will qualify. You should be able to qualify, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ben. We'll move straight to A. Mohammed. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon
Hi.
you.
Yes, I was asking in a scenario like I have an issue. We had filed a return in 2016 for company, and the auditor actually find it erroneously. There's a loss he didn't capture, and he didn't capture that loss, so it showed that there was a turnover profit, and now we were subjected to pay a principal amount. So we did the amended return, but still date, it's still showing that there's a principal amount that has to be paid.
Thank you for Mohammed. So 2016, if you did not capture the loss carried forward for the previous month, but you amended the return, what you need to follow up is for the amended return to be approved, because it means it has not been approved. So you need to follow up for the amended return to be approved. And then once it is approved, the principal tax then will not be there. And then you qualify for the amnesty after that.
Okay, and how do I do that? Because I'm a bit stranded there.
So what you do is you just, if you know your account manager, that is the person who is supposed to make the submission, actually to approve. That is the person who is supposed to approve.
Okay, I'm having a challenge trying to locate my account manager. Can I get some assistance with that?
I think our colleagues can pick that up. I think the account manager is not a big problem. Privately, maybe our colleagues from taxpayer education, they can pick that up, and then we should be able to trace the account manager. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So maybe you can also share with us your details, then we'll be able to follow up after this call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to last but not least, Bliss Bistro. Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was asking.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was asking.
Yes.
My pen was assessed. And there are also some losses we never captured. Vis-a-vis the turnover. So we have amended all the way from March 2022 to December 2022. Do we qualify for amnesty?
Okay. So I think for Bliss, you've talked about it was assessed, some losses were not captured, you've amended the returns. So if you've amended a return, maybe to capture something that had not been captured, you need to follow up for the return to be approved, because when you amend a return to reduce liability, it is subjected to verification process. So you need to follow up for the amendment to be concluded. And then once it has been approved and the principal tax is not there anymore, then you will qualify for the amnesty within phase 2, where now we will do away with the penalties and interest automatically where there is no principal tax. Because for your case, it means if you have a principal tax that is pending now and you have amended your return, then it means that is a principal tax in dispute. So you need to follow up for the amended return to be approved.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too for your question. I can see we are past 1 and we have so many hands up. We have another ongoing training, or there will be an upcoming training, not ongoing. We have an upcoming training soon. That is next week on Tuesday on the same tax amnesty. So in the interest of time, I would please request us we can note down our questions on the chat. What we will do, we will liaise with the BTO office to get a response for the questions and then send them back to you as an FAQ. And if not so, we will also be able to share with you another link for a training that we intend to have next week on Tuesday on the same tax and amnesty, because I can see there are still hands that are going up. So it means there could be a question or two that have not been conclusively addressed. So I would please request that we kindly type our questions on the chat. We will not be able to end the meeting immediately, and then we'll be able to pick up the questions from the chat. send them as an FAQ with the answers to those who've logged in today's session, because I see there are also followers. There's an ongoing conversation on YouTube. We still have questions there that have not been addressed on our YouTube platform. So kindly, we will be able to send it out as an FAQ to all of you. And also, if you see another invite for Tuesday next week, then please, you can log in and then we'll be able to address your questions from there. So in the interest of time, I beg that we leave it at this as I give our subject matter expert the opportunity to give his last or closing remarks. So Benson, I welcome you for your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. I think we will continue to provide the necessary assistance. There's a lot that we are doing. It's only that for our case, we don't deal with taxpayers directly. So we do most of what we do it behind the scenes. Even those issues to do with VA assessments for January 2023, issues to do with reconciliation of missing pay credits and so on. We are doing a lot to make sure that somebody who may have a penalty and interest for that period covered by the amnesty and is not able to take advantage of it because of an erroneous principal tax are resolved as time goes by. So, but again, we'll continue to support where necessary, especially coming up with the guide that is needed to assist in application for the amnesty, and even for those who have no principal tax to pay, we are working hard with our colleagues, our system developers, to make sure that that service is available as soon as possible, so that majority of the Kenyans now who have penalties and interest can actually take advantage of that, and then they are able to get their tax compliance certificates automatically from the system. But important to note is that there is no waiver moving forward. There is no waiver of interest and penalty. So it is good for our taxpayers to make sure that our records moving forward are clean, because that window for application of penalty, waiver for penalty and interest has been done away with, unless it comes back with another Finance Act change. So moving forward now for periods from January 2023 moving forward, if you're not applied for waiver as at when the High Court ruled that the Finance Act stands, then you need to make sure that your records are clean moving forward. Any penalty that may arise, you'll be required to pay, unless it can only be confirmed that it was due a system issue or for factors beyond your control. And that time now we'll treat it as an erroneous penalty and interest. But the ones for waiver of interest, the ones that we could apply, give justification, are no longer there. The law has already done away with that. So I think those are my closing remarks, and I wish we can close there.
Sawa sawa. So let me also take the opportunity to appreciate you, Ben, for taking your time to take us through this very important process. Though it's not been rolled out as yet on iTax, but we are well prepared. We are informed on what to do when that time comes for us to now take advantage of the amnesty on iTax. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and with the entire participant group that was on this call. We appreciate it so much. So we'll be able to get in touch and see how we can respond to the questions that are on the chat and even on the YouTube conversations. And also to appreciate our participants for today for taking the time to log in and even ask questions and get clarity. I can see your hands are still going up. Francis, Elizabeth, and Jude. I can see you all, but kindly allow us to end it at this point for this day. Like I mentioned, we'll have another session on Tuesday. We'll share the link to your emails, and also we'll be able to do an FAQ from today's session and send you the answers to most of the questions that will have come up on the chat. So thank you everyone for today's session. I would wish to end it at this, and maybe we can just do a short prayer as we end. Okay, so let us pray. We thank you, kind Father, for being with us through this session on tax amnesty. Thank you even for enlightening us on how to be able to take advantage of the amnesty that has been given to us. May you make us proactive and even give us more opportunities to be able to learn so that we can become compliant citizens. We thank you for the time and thank you for leading us through. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So thank you everyone. I wish you all a good afternoon. See you another time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.